speak directly into that mic. If you put it down here, nobody's going to hear you, and most importantly, no one who's joining us by streaming will hear you. Please stand if you are able and tell us who you are before you start. Who would like to share, please? Here we go. Don't. They can't hear you without the microphone.
Okay. Judith Wright.
Go ahead.
Okay. We were in the same building at Dayspring, and we were both on the association, and Jerry worked very closely with me, and so I appreciate that about him. And he was one of the first ones to introduce himself to me when I first moved in, and he remained friends throughout the years. And I just praise the Lord for his caring about people that were in danger.
Who else would like to share? Craig, you're running around a little bit.
I'm his baby sister. I'm 78, but I was always his baby sister. My name is Daisy Southwick, and I'm Jerry's baby sister, even though I'm 78. And he reminded everybody that we used to go to Ramblers, and they said, he would say, "This is my baby sister," and I could have went under the seat, but he always did that. And you know, I'm really gonna miss him because he was a good guy, and I loved him dearly, and he was last to my brothers. So I'm glad he's at peace.
Thank you, Daisy. Thank you, baby sister.
Well, she always bragged. I'm Charlotte. I'm Jerry's next to the last sister. There was 6 of us, and she always was pleased to say she was the baby sister, but wasn't afraid to say I was her older sister. But the fun part is I have to look at, there's an old picture in the center of that folder up there, and we went to a country school. And of course, my younger sister isn't in that picture because she wasn't old enough to be in it. But every time I see that picture, I always thought, we were the hillbilly, and you look at the way we were dressed. We went to country schools. That's where the picture was taken. But we never knew in the house to stay in the house. We were totally out in the snow, in the creek, in the woods, everything. But Jerry didn't have the best directions. And so up above us, there was a big blueberry patch. And so the gentleman, he was a hermit. He had 3 other guys that lived on it, but it was a huge blueberry patch. So, but they liked my parents, and he said, take all the blueberries you want, sell them, do whatever you want, because he liked us kids to beat the path down, and so then he could get through the blueberry patch. But what was the fun part about it was Mom sent us into the blueberry patch, and she said, now I expect you to bring blueberries out because that's what we sold to get to go to Eldridge Park. So Jerry, he always thought there was a better blueberry patch just a little farther deeper into the woods. And he'd always convince somebody to go with him, which the somebody happened to be me most of the time. But this day we walked, and we couldn't find our way out of that blueberry patch. And we ended up clear over on Spencer Hill and had to walk all that way back. And of course, Mom, when we got back, wasn't that happy. You know, there was no blueberries in our patch, but they did let us.
That gave to everybody, no prejudice at all his life. If you get up the middle of the night, we have a fire, we have a medical, guess who was there? We could depend on Jerry being there. I can remember, I used to call him Fastball Dan I don't know if all you guys remember when we had the emergency league. So he was our pitcher, and I always picked on him, called him Fastball Dan. Then one day, he was more or less in charge of the park, and I was doing the park program. He comes up, and there's two young guys that says, well, hey, we'll take you and you on at basketball. So I never heard so much bragging after Jerry and I whipped them, right? I mean, these kids, they put their tails between their legs and went home. So Jerry always remembered that, and remember the day that we did this. I'm like, yeah, Jerry, you and I did pretty good, even though I probably used Bengay the rest of the week. But no, there's a man that he was not just only a friend, he was my brother. And when you say you love your brother, trust me, I loved this brother. I mean, he did so much for his community, for his town. You know, I know he's right next to the Lord. He's sitting there with him. They're talking now. And we can all take that pleasure knowing where he is right now. And God bless the family. I got to know him. I helped grow him up, right, guys? So I appreciate your dad. I love your dad. And someday we'll have a card party in heaven, trust me. So, thank you.
Much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. My name is Mark Illick, and a long time ago, Jerry and I were scouters together. And Jerry was never a guy that seeked the limelight or the glory of scouting. He only had one purpose in scouting, and that was to help kids and do his best. We spent a lot of summers together at Camp Gordon, and if there was a dirty job to do around camp, Jerry and Phil Malberg were always right there to clean latrines or unplug drains or do whatever we need. And I thought a lot about Jerry the last couple of weeks, and what I remember about him was his simple service to scouting, his love of young people, and his dedication to scouting. So now may the great Scoutmaster of all great scouts be with us till we meet again. Thanks, Jerry. It was an honor to be your friend.
And thank you for sharing. And you have a job, sir. Tell me your name again.
Mark Illick.
Mark, we're going to need help with the Scout Vesper at the end, and you're in charge. So just sing loud. That's all we ask.
I'll do it.
Because I know you know it.
Hi, I'm Jane Tronson, and Jerry is a long-time member here of this church. First Methodist, Presbyterian, now United Church Painted Post. And of course, Jerry has been a great part of this, helping in so many different ways. But I especially remember him from all the years with Vacation Bible School in the summer. And I directed that since the 80s and on up. And Jerry was always so good about helping in whatever way that we needed to have him help with that. But he really enjoyed helping the children, working with them, and making our programs so meaningful. So we truly love Jerry, and we'll miss him so much.
Thank you, Jane. Who's next?
Well, I'm Jim Tronson, and I'm in this church as well. And the one thing I remember about Jerry is he was always very thankful. And the least little thing that you would do for him, he would remember forever. And that's goes back to his faith, I'm sure. He was a thankful man, but he gave of himself abundantly.
Thank you, Jim. Craig Carroll's been waiting patiently over here for quite some time.
My name is Carol McNeil. I'm a member of the church here, and I've known Jerry for as long as we've been members, which goes on to close to 50 years here. But before that time, Jerry and I met at the old box factory warehouser. I'm a nurse, and I was there from Corning Hospital, but working in an occupational health nurse fashion. And I would go over there, I don't know, a couple of times a month to check blood pressures, to make sure their OSHA manual was up to snuff and all that sort of thing. But that's where I met Jerry. And the folks that worked at Warehouse were mostly men, and they were mostly rough and tumble types. And they really didn't want to have their blood pressures taken or anything else. And Jerry was so kind and so friendly and made me feel not strange to be in that environment. And he and I, of course, interfaced here at church, and he was always just so kind and genuine, and he would always chat about our experience at the box factory. That apparently really stuck with him. But I think the word for me that really embodies what I knew of Jerry, which mostly was here at church, is servant. He was a real servant. And I will remember him always.
Thank you, Carol. Who's next? We have plenty of time. Anyone else?
I got to apologize. My voice is not the best. I am Randy Dan, his nephew. Every Wednesdays and Sundays, I would go see Jerry at Three Rivers. Jerry would tell me everyone's life story. I knew everything about Charlotte. I knew what Charlotte was the rascal. Daisy would push him a couple of times. He taught me about my dad and Chuck, how they used to fight all the time, who would win and who would lose. But I loved it when we went on our rides, and he would tell me the stories of all the history of Corning. He even talked about Tiglio's. That was a meat market on Bridge Street. I didn't know that. But when we talked, I learned more about him and what he did. He was very forgiving, understanding, but I learned one thing he got from his mom. He was stubborn as a mule. And if he was mad, he would let you know that he was mad. But he had a kind heart. And everyone in this room, he really thought a lot of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Randy. Hope that voice comes back for you. Who else? I saw you up front somewhere.
Yes, my name is Todd Dan. I'm his younger son. Not only was he involved in Scouts, he was involved in Little League, Masonic Temple, a bunch of other organizations, the Boy Scouts, Junior Firemen.